Yesterday, the class was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I got sort of involved in it. This was the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave at the last Shluchim convention. Shluchim are the emissaries of the Rebbe that are spread all over the world. There's these Chabad houses in the most bizarre places, wherever there are Jews. There's a really big one in Thailand. There's 3, I think even 4 in Thailand. There were several in China, in Japan. Anyway, so there was a big, huge convention that's done every year. In fact, it's going to be this coming Shabbat, done every year. And the Shluchim, they come from all over the world. And they go. So the Rebbe gave his last instructions to them, because after that he had a stroke that rendered him paralyzed. So he gave his last instructions. This is the last convention that he spoke at. And the Rebbe said that the whole purpose of the creation and the whole purpose of the Jewish people, and how much more so the purpose of Chabad, and how much more so the purpose of the Chabad emissaries, is to bring Moshiach. That's what the whole world was created for. That's what the Jewish people are created for. That's what Chabad is for. And especially the emissaries of the Rebbe, they're the ones that are really going out into the battlefield, so to speak. And our weapon is light and education. Good. But what is the goal? What is the goal? The goal is Moshiach. Our goal is Moshiach. And so the Rebbe spoke about that. And the Rebbe spoke about what exactly does it mean that you are emissaries to bring the Moshiach. And what is Moshiach? The Rebbe spoke about a lot before, but now he's mostly explaining or emphasizing or reminding or re-emphasizing what exactly is a shliach. What does it mean, an emissary? What does it mean that one person is an emissary of somebody else? A proxy? Is it just like a proxy, or maybe it's just like a UPS? That's what I wanted yesterday. Just like a UPS guy, you just have a package to bring from one place to another. You're not personally involved at all. You can't make your own decisions. Or maybe it's a little bit more than that. Maybe it's more. Maybe it's like a matchmaker. A matchmaker, he's sort of in the middle. He's got a job to do, and he's a little bit personally involved in the whole thing, but not so much. What is exactly an emissary? So the Rebbe says that, let's take the example from the Torah. The example from the Torah is Abraham. Abraham wanted to find a bride for his son Yitzchak, and he could have gone on his own and looked for and Abraham knew all the signs, but he didn't. He knew exactly what he wanted. He knew the criteria. He didn't know her name, but but Abraham sent his servant Eliezer. And not only did he send his servant Eliezer, but the Torah has paragraph after paragraph explaining what happened to Eliezer and what Eliezer said and what Eliezer thought, and then what happened, how he reacted to what he thought, and then how what reacted to what happened, and then he expressed his reaction, and then how he reacted to their reaction and their reaction to this, and the whole long story about how he went and he found and he thought and he could and he didn't know and then he did know and then he found her, and then when he found her, then he had to talk to her father, and he talked to her father and told the whole story and told the story again. Why did it waste so much time on this? What's going on? So obviously this is in the Torah. This is not some novel or something that you just go into detail because it makes it a little more interesting and builds up tension or something. This is the Torah. Every word in the Torah was written by God. Every letter is precise and exact. The Torah. So why does the Torah seemingly waste so much time on this story about Eliezer, who Eliezer, by the way, wasn't even Jewish? Eliezer, that Abraham sent, that his whole existence was just that he was a shliach. He was an emissary. That's his whole thing. He was an emissary. And this is the ultimate mission that he was sent on. And therefore the Torah talks about this, and it gives us a message of what we are. We are emissaries of God. And Moshiach is an emissary of God. And our job is to just do our job as emissaries. What type of emissary? Oh, let's learn from Eliezer. So it says that before Abraham sent Eliezer, as he made him swear, Abraham made him swear. So therefore, we can say that Eliezer was a shliach to marry Rivka. Abraham put Eliezer in his place. He was like, so to speak, the hand of Abraham, just like my hand is an emissary to do things for me, right? My hand is an emissary to do things for me. But if you can prove a person that he has whatever a nervous condition, he can't control himself, and that's why he punched this the policeman in the face. He punched him because he's got this nervous condition, and he can't. And he brings letters from doctors and all the things. Okay, he'll go free. He'll go free because it wasn't him. It was his hand was not representing himself. But generally speaking, a person can't come with that. Say, Your Honor, I did not hit the policeman. It was my knuckle. My knuckle hit the policeman. The judge will say, is this man normal? I mean, maybe he has to be checked up psychologically. Bring a psychiatrist. What do you mean your knuckle hit? Your knuckle is attached to your hand, right? True. That's true. That is true, yes. So, okay, you know what? My knuckle and my hand. But your hand is connected to your arm. Okay, Your Honor, you have a good point. I didn't think about that. My knuckle and my hand and my arm. Your arm is connected to your nervous system. My knuckle, my hand, and my arm, my nervous system. And the nervous system is connected to you. 1 second. That I don't agree with. No, that's ridiculous. Of course. But in the end, it's true. Your hand is just sort of like an emissary. That's the same thing with Eliezer. Eliezer was like the hand of Abraham. Shliach Shalom Kamosa, whatever he did, that was Abraham himself doing. Yeshlama, we can say, Shadavar Zed, that Eliezer was a Shliach. Movement can be understood in Mashkatu, what it says, Vayikach. One minute. Oh, that's what I want. Here we go. Vayikach, it says, Vayikach Eved Esara Gamalim, I don't know, that the Eliezer, he took 10 camels from the camels of his master, Vayelech Kol Tuv Adonai Biyado, and he took everything of his master in his hand. What do you mean he took everything? He only took 10 camels. That's everything. He didn't take all the camels. It says no. He took everything. Kafishim, a portion like it says, Eliezer Hechzik Berashuto. He had in his hand Kol Tuv Adonai. He had everything. Everything. What does it mean? Everything. Abraham gave him the right for everything. He gave him the permission to do anything he wanted to with everything that Abraham owned. Like it says, it says that Eliezer ruled over everything that Abraham had. Even like it says in Rashi, Sheshtar Matana, it says that Abraham wrote a bill of ownership to Yitzchak, I'll call it Shirlo, Kadesh Yakpitzu, Lishloach Lo, Bitam, that everyone will want to give their daughter. So Avram gave this. So once again, Abraham gave it to Yitzchak, didn't he? So no, Abraham gave this deed in the hands of Eliezer. But Oven Sheyesh Lo HaKoach, that he has the power that he could rip it up if he wanted to. Kach Shakol Asher Lo, everything that Abraham had, he gave it to the hands of Eliezer. So Abraham sent Eliezer, and he said, I want you to marry my daughter, my son, find the girl. These are the criteria, it has to come from my family, and etc. But don't take from the daughters of Canaan. But I'm giving you, rulership. You're a proxy, or rulership of everything I have. If over there they say, we want $20 million, $20 million. That's what I'm worth. I'm worth $20 million. Give them the whole thing. All my cattle, my house, my everything. Give them everything I have, my clothes on my back. Abraham gave Eliezer the right for everything. No, this shows that what? That Abraham was putting Eliezer in his place. L'chiora, at first glance, how could he give everything to a person, sha'alav yochal liot safek, that he had a doubt, ma'u yaseh, what's he going to do? I mean, in the end, Eliezer was not Abraham. Eliezer could have gone out of the door and say, yes, master, I will. As soon as he gets out, right? He runs home to his wife and says, you won't believe what happened. Buy tickets to Bermuda. We're rich, right? He could have done it. How could Abraham just give everything into the hands of a person that could make decisions exactly the opposite of what Abraham wanted? This proves this shows that Eliezer was totally faithful and devoted to Abraham. Because he was a servant. Therefore, even when Abraham sent him to make this match for Yitzchak, he was not just a matchmaker, that he has a job to do. He's like a middleman. He is like Abraham. He's not a middleman. He becomes Abraham. That everything he had was Metziut HaMashalech. His whole being is Abraham. So to speak, he didn't exist. He's just like the hand of Abraham. Therefore, Avram was put into his possession everything he had, but Lishum suffered without any doubt. Okay, of course, this is very nice biblically talking about, but the Rebbe is saying that this is relevant to every single emissary of the Rebbe's. The explanation is like this. We have another, we call a klutz kasha, an obvious question. It says that Abraham wrote a bill of ownership to Yitzchak for everything that Abraham owned. So that people would want to marry their daughters off to Yitzchak. Everybody knew Abraham was rich. Abraham became very wealthy, but maybe not his son. So he says, I'm giving everything to Yitzchak. He's got complete control. The deed that I'm giving, that I wrote in this deed, everything I own belongs to Yitzchak, right? That deed I'm giving to Eliezer, and he has the power to rip it up if he wants to, because he's got the power to do everything. Okay, 1 second. So who did Abraham give everything to? We'll see. It says Abraham gave everything. He wrote a deed that said everything I own belongs to Yitzchak. Even charity. The law is there is a law that says that a person should never give away everything that he has to charity. And a person who does so, over al das hakatuv, he goes against the Torah. Says mikol asher lo. You have to give charity from what you have and not what you have. The simple reason is, it says, because if you give everything you have away to charity, then you're going to have to accept charity. So you don't have to make yourself poor in order, you don't have to, right? There are stories about people who gave everything away they had for others. There are stories like that. But still, it's not a thing that is in any way required. And certain ways, it is a thing which is forbidden. You're not supposed to do it. How can it be that Abraham gave everything that to Yitzchak? Even if you want to say that he gave it kavar, az b'Yerusha, even if you want to say that if he would give everything after he died, it also wouldn't be understood. Even if he said, okay, I'm giving everything I have to Yitzchak, but he only really takes possession after I pass away. That's also not so simple. You're also not supposed to do that. How much more so that this, he gave it to Yitzchak in order that people would give their daughters. That means that he actually gave everything to Yitzchak right now. And especially even if Abraham wouldn't have given everything that he had, let's say Abraham was worth $20 million. So he says, because I want that people will pay attention and they'll give their daughters to my son, so therefore I'm giving them everything. What if Abraham would not have given him everything? What did he have to give him everything for? He's got $20 million. Give him $18 million. Elarak Rov, even if he gave the majority, he would still be tremendously rich. This would have been enough. That people will give their daughters, willfully want their daughters to marry him, a rich man. A rich man is rich if he has $19 million or if he has $20 million. you're not supposed to give everything away. Why did Abraham give everything away? He could have given away the majority. Well, Befrat, and especially that Abraham was, how old was he when Yitzchak went to get married? He was 140 years old. 140 years old. This is 3 years after the Akedah. After he says V'chai, after he lived many, many years. Abraham died when he was 175. So Abraham was at that time 140, and he lived another 35 years without a pauper. He should have saved something for himself, avur b'nei beso, or for his family. And especially after that Yosef Avram, that Avram, it says he took more wives afterwards. He had wives and they had more children. The Panemius Inyanim, it says like this. We can explain what it says that Yitzchak, the son of Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Toldot. That's going to be what next week's Torah portion, right? Next week's Torah portion is Toldot. So next week's Torah portion, how does it start off? These are the generations. These are the generations of Avram, of Toldot, Yitzchak. One second. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of confused here. These are the right. These are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. That's what it says. So 1 second. That's right, yes. These are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. That's next week's Torah portion. Okay, this, of course, is very redundant. Obviously, if these are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham, so obviously Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. If Yitzchak is the son of Abraham, so obviously Avram is his father. So what does it have to say twice? Yitzchak, the son of. So it says, it's coming to tell you, the rabbis say, the cluster panav shel Yitzchak domela Avram, that the facial features of Yitzchak were exactly those of Abraham. Shechin gamba penimiusam, also in the inside and the service, they are davar echad, they are one thing, and they're one continuation. In other words, these are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. They're one person. It's just one continuation. It says, Avot Heinaina Makava, that the Isaac and Jacob, they are what's called a vehicle for God. Maybe we can say like this: Yitzchak and Abraham were the same thing. They were the same thing. Abraham gave everything away that he had to Yitzchak, more or less that had already been done. As soon as Yitzchak was born, he automatically was totally Abraham. Oh, so here we have a very interesting thing. We have that Abraham was the father of the Jewish people, and he gave everything that he had to his servant Eliezer. Why did he do that? In order that he should find a bride for Yitzchak. And Abraham also gave everything he had to Yitzchak. Eliezer was just holding on to the deed. But he gave everything he had to Yitzchak because Yitzchak was really a total extension of Abraham, but so was Eliezer. Eliezer was also an extension as far as this finding the bride is concerned. So let's see how this goes. Yesh lomar bir b'zeh. An explanation is like this. Nesui Yitzchak v'Rivka. The reason that in the Torah it is told this whole long story about Yitzchak getting married to Rivka. This is a Nesuin. This is the first marriage, Harishon, which is written clearly in the Torah. Adam did get married to Chava, but it doesn't talk about the marriage and the matchmaking, right? With Adam and Eve, so true, God was the matchmaker with Adam and Eve, but there were no other women, right? There was no other. God didn't have to search around, even though it says he brought all the animals. But that Einam rak nesuim pratim. I'm sorry. Again, the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka, which was the marriage which is written, the first marriage written clearly in the Torah. This is not just a marriage between two individual people, or even two individual Jews. Ella, Now, of course, we know that Abraham got married to Sarah, right? But it doesn't explain all the details of how he got married to Sarah. He just got married to her. The Torah tells us, doesn't tell that the search. Here he had to search and it was difficult. And in order to search, he didn't do it himself. He sent to an. This is telling us something about marriage in general. And it's telling us something about life in general. We'll see. This is not just an individual marriage between two people or even two Jews. This is the most general topic there is in existence. And Nisuim Rishonim, the first marriage, Ba'ama Yehudi, in the Jewish people after the circumcision. Like I say, Abraham got married to Sarah, but he got married to Sarah. This was 99 years before he was circumcised. So this is the first marriage which in the Jewish people after Abraham was circumcised, after there was the commandment of circumcision, after Yitzchak was circumcised also. And even more, it's more. By means of this marriage of Abraham, of Yitzchak and Rivka, there is toldot. There is the offspring. That's what it says, the toldot of Yitzchak, the toldot of Yitzchak ben Avram. Yitzchak was the son of Abraham, and Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. There was offspring. Hemshech kol Yisrael. What's the offspring? The Jewish people. By means of this marriage comes the whole Jewish people. Kolomar, in other words, Nosav al Nisuim, in addition to the fact that this marriage, this individual marriage of two individual people, one was called Yitzchak and Rivka. They were human beings. They had legs and arms, just like everybody else. Morim, this shows in Nisuim, Gam al Nisuim shel Kol Yisrael, all of the Jewish people. The Jewish people, Nisuim, hallelujah, Hiviu, it told us this is what brought about the whole Jewish people, existence of the Jewish people, and what made possible the existence of the Jewish people until the end of all the generations. Each one we can say, Shalochi, and therefore Abraham gave this whole thing, everything he had to Yitzchak. Why? Because this was not just a regular marriage between Yitzchak and Rivka. This was a marriage of all of the Jewish people. Now, the Jewish people, we have to understand, the Jewish people, they took on the task that Adam was given. That's why Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their wives are buried together with Adam and Chava and Eve in Hebron. Because all mankind was created in order to fix up the world. And when Adam did not do it, so he brought selfishness into the world, the first nation, the first people, the first person to realize that it's possible to live in the world and not be selfish, not to be thinking about this world or the next world of revelations or nirvana or the enlightenment or some whatever, thinking about yourself, was Abraham. And Abraham passed this down to the Jewish people. Really, the Jewish people were made from this first marriage. This is, so to speak, the first two Jews that got married. Abraham, when he got married, he wasn't really right. He hadn't been circumcised yet. He hadn't been circumcised. He was not yet a full-fledged Jew. Yitzchak had been circumcised. So therefore, this gave birth to all of the Jewish people. Therefore, this is also relevant to Abraham himself. Yitzchak was the continuation of Abraham. Biyoto Harosh, because Abraham was the head in the beginning of all of the Jewish people, the first Jew. Because of that, therefore, Abraham put all of his energy, all of his accomplishments, all of his possessions, he gave to Yitzchak everything, because Yitzchak was Abraham. If it was talking about Abraham, that he was an individual father, and Yitzchak was an individual son, as loya matim, then it's not fitting, not proper, that he would give everything that he had just for his wedding. Rachel, he could have given a lot. He could have given 90% of what he had. He would have given to him. Abraham could have left a little bit for himself. But because this wedding, this marriage, was so tremendously important, this wedding was the whole essence of what the Jewish people are. Shemakif et Kol Kolal, et Kol Kolal Yisrael. This included all the Jewish people. Shezeu Gam Inyanu Muhutam. This is the whole essence of what Abraham is. That Abraham was the head of all the Jewish people. So there's no place that Abraham could have left anything, even the smallest detail, separated from Yitzchak. Yitzchak was not a separate entity. Also, another thing, if you think about it, Abraham got married to Sarah. This is before the test of the Akedah, right? This was like 38 years before the test of the Akedah. After the test of the Akedah, that Abraham took Yitzchak to sacrifice him, and Yitzchak willfully went. So this put into the DNA of the Jewish people this type of willingness of total self-sacrifice for the Creator without any thought of any remuneration of going to heaven or wherever. Total devotion to God. That's the fixing of the mistake of Adam. Adam had a little tiny bit of selfishness. He made a little bit of sort of computations, right? What he's going to get out of it. It's good for me. I like it. And Abraham and Isaac, they're the ones that negated this. They opened up the door for total devotion to God. But that only happened, of course, after Yitzchak was born. Only Yitzchak was born. So the marriage of Yitzchak to Rivka, this is the marriage of total self-sacrifice, which was in Yitzchak, and also the circumcision that he was circumcised, total self-sacrifice for God to pass this down to generations. That's the Jewish people. And therefore, nothing. Therefore, Abraham gave everything he had to Yitzchak. This depends on not only the Jewish people, but the whole world. Whom masar b'zeh et atzmo, totally. Everything he had. But Od, and even more, Hanasuim, this marriage, Bo'im, came, Davka, B'kocho shel Avram, it came through the power of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak, and Abraham circumcised Yitzchak. And afterwards, he made this shidduch, this match, but he did it by means of sending Eliezer. Why did he send Eliezer? We haven't talked about yet. We're going to get this. This is going to be the interesting part. And therefore, he had to give everything he had. This is how Abraham was really starting to carry out the function of the Jewish people, the job of the Jewish people to fix up the physical world. According to this, now it's sweet to say, that Eliezer, that Eliezer, the servant, was not just an emissary, he was not just a proxy, that he was a thing in himself, Ela begeder shliach, that he was a shliach. What does it mean? Kamoto amashaleach. He was totally one with Abraham. He was in the place of Abraham. Kashem shenetinat kol asher lo, just like giving everything, tzorichem liot muchletet, totally. B'li shum prat michutz lezeh, outside of this. Right? Let's say that what is it? Israel wants to make an agreement with Saudi Arabia, so they send an emissary. So he says, okay, you have to agree that you will give us this and I'll give you that. And the emissary says, I do. And the king of Saudi Arabia says, listen, I want to talk to the head of the government. He says, I'm the head of the government. So you're not the head of the government. You're not the head of the government. The head of the government is the king. And you're not the king. We're not talking about nowadays. You're not the king. You're just an emissary of the king. He says, no, look at this paper. I got a paper. I am in the place of the king. Whatever I decide, the king agrees to. Oh, that's a whole different business. Right? Anything that you want, the king, that's right. That's what Eliezer was. Eliezer, he was like the hand of Abraham. The shliach shalom kamo can also move, and it's understood, ben agel Eliezer. Eliezer, and especially because especially because he controlled everything that Abraham had. That deed that Abraham gave to Yitzchak, everything that was in the hands of Eliezer. Why was it in the hands of Eliezer? Eliezer wanted to show it to everyone, to show it to everybody. Look, here my master gave everything. See, there's a deed to give. So the fact that Abraham gave everything to Yitzchak was in the hands of Eliezer. He was the one. Abraham trusted him so much to the degree that he said, whatever you do, I'm doing. Whatever you say, that's me saying it. That all of his being, gam kafishu holech, even as he's going to make this shidduch, to make this match, according to according to Dato, his own opinion. In other words, he made up his mind, Eliezer, whatever you decide, his decision. But nevertheless, Abraham gave him the power that whatever you decide, that's my decision. As ein bazeh shum makom, therefore, there can't be anything else. Abraham gave everything to Eliezer. It can't be that he was just a matchmaker, shum atziat latzmo, that he's a separate entity, and he's not. Okay, an explanation of this in the inside, panemius, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now let's do the Yom Yom. Okay, let's see.